You had those teachers that say, don't smile until
Like being outspoken does come with accountability, and that's where it falls off.
you have some teachers, they gonna take it right off back. Right? Her mom waited out after school for me.
My mom would have been like, you know what, he
outside breaking glass.
Today, I want you to take away something from my class that you're not going to forget over the summer.
Oh man, welcome to Brother. Episode 4.
We're at 4.
Episode 4, guest number 3. First and foremost, thank you all so much for the support, the feedback. I really, really appreciate some of the things you guys are saying. It's really motivating to keep pushing forward in our mission and what we're doing. So we thank
and
y'all
it's been
for that.
crazy. Like we didn't think that
It's
it was
not-
going to
it
be like
hasn't
this.
all been positive.
But we didn't think it was going to grow like this. This fast. I mean,
Yeah.
this is our 4th episode, and we just been getting so much love. I mean, people from all over the place, outside of North Carolina, outside of like just the Durham area where we're shooting. So, like Marsha said, we just really appreciate you guys and mad love for that.
For sure. Real people, real conversations, real life, man. We feel that. So with that, we would like to introduce our guest.
Another guy from Roxborough, by the way.
Yes,
Right.
yes, sir.
Austin, last name again?
Harris.
Austin Harris.
Yeah.
Tell us more about you. And for everybody, this is my first time meeting Austin too as well.
Yeah.
So this is a chance for you alongside me to learn more about Austin. And just see what the young brother has to say. So like he said, he's from Roxborough too. We retired the pride of Roxborough.
Yeah, no more pride.
Yeah, we can't really say pride associated with Roxborough. It's a little bit
It's too much. It's already too much pride in Roxborough.
right. So I'm gonna give him the Roxborough Rockets, actually Pocket Rocket. That's what we gonna call Deron. Deron played corner, and he a little bit shorter than me, so I'll probably put him in my pocket if we was out there.
Oh, man.
Don't start that. Somebody bring the football and let us know what football field at.
That's right, because I ain't never lost in person.
I won't there.
Check y'all homecoming. I spoiled it a couple of
I won't
years
there.
ago. But
Just remember that.
Anywho, that's enough.
We ain't had Austin in the band hyping them up like we used to back in the day.
Nah, but go ahead, man. We want to give you a chance to introduce yourself.
Yeah. So my name is Austin Harris. I am a 7th grade language arts teacher in Roxborough, North Carolina.
7th grade.
Yeah, 7th grade. So
You a brave one.
I hear that a lot, man. Middle school, I love middle school, but this is my 4th year in the classroom, my 5th year in education, 4th year in the classroom. I'm a graduate of North Carolina Central University. I got my bachelor's degree in middle grades education, which is why I'm in middle school,
Gotcha.
with a concentration in language arts and social studies. And now I'm currently working on my master's degree in curriculum and instruction with another middle grades concentration. So hoping, that'll open up some doors for leadership opportunities in the future and things like that. But I'm excited to be here, excited to have some conversation with you guys today.
Yeah, man. I'm excited too.
Yeah. Another thing, I brought my wife with me today. Shout out to my queen.
Show the queen.
Supporting me today. That's right. So, definitely want to
We
shout
are
her
a
out.
family business.
Yeah.
Well, I know jumping into, like Marsha said, me and Austin already knew each other. We middle school together, high school together, parted ways when it came to college. He went to Central. I had to get away from my mama, so I went to Western Carolina. Had to get far away.
Then you ran back.
I did real fast. But I know Austin was real big in music at the time when we were in school together. And when he first told me he was a teacher, it kind of shocked me. I just didn't think that Austin would go into that field. Austin's been a great stand-up guy, but he was like really into music back in the day. So what kind of changed your direction?
Yeah, you're right. I've been in music for a while, man. I'm a church musician, so I've been playing keys since I was in 5th grade. And then I started band in middle school. Everybody in band picking up instruments in the 6th grade. We don't know what we want to do, but I ended up leaning more towards percussion. And so I played drums throughout middle school, throughout high school.
He was mean on the drums too.
And I appreciate it. Then I marched a year at Central as well, and so thought I wanted to be a band director.
Gotcha.
Obviously, band had been my life for so long, but the thing about me was I was a gifted musician in the fact that I played by ear. And so I learned piano by ear. I didn't read music. I read percussion music, but not as far as other instruments. And so trying to be a music major at North Carolina Central, I auditioned for the music program. I got accepted. But I realized how big of a learning curve I had ahead of me compared to the other musicians who were in the department who had been reading music for quite some time. Not to say that it was impossible to accomplish, but I did recognize that I had some work, and I possibly could be in college for a while, and I wasn't trying to go that route. And so education was the common factor, being a band director, working with young people with music. And so I just kind of took a step back and realized, I still want to be in education, but I'm going to need another avenue to work with young people. And that's the thing about education. It's so broad. There's so many different things that you could do. And so I ended up going to talk with the School of Education advisor, and I've been gifted in writing. I wasn't that teacher, that student that loved to read a lot until I found the right book. And so even now in my adulthood, like you give me the right book, I tear it up. But I feel my pain from my students.
Yeah, 100%.
You put something in front of them and they're not interested in it.
I remember those days. Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I got in education, just realizing that I wanted to work with young people, particularly middle school. I don't do the babies, so elementary that was already cut out. And then high school, coming out of college as a young teacher, some people, go that route, which is perfectly fine. But I didn't want to, go that route. So
yeah.
I found middle school to be my sweet spot.
Gotcha. And you had said something to me that was interesting as well. I didn't know that you had got into ministry.
Yeah.
So how did that come along for you?
Yeah, so I've been called into the ministry, since I was young. I remember, growing up, I would get sermons in my head. Just, you grow up in church, y'all see young people like we learn church, we know how to do church.
Exactly.
And so I was actually crafting sermons in my head, and I remember I could just be, getting ready, taking a shower, and I would preach that sermon in the shower, get out and tell my mom what I was thinking about, what my thoughts were. And my mom told me, you probably need to start writing this stuff down because evidently it sounded pretty legit. And
That's
so
deep.
I grew up in church, grew in my faith, grew up under my leader in Faith Temple United Holy Church in Rossboro, and just started, people started seeing the gift in me. And then I got to college, and, I tried to experience the college life a little bit, but I always knew I was set apart, called into something different. But I tried it. I tried to have fun in college. I tried
Don't
to
we
party,
all?
and,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I did it, but I didn't
Had a
do
little
it.
too much fun.
I didn't do it successfully, man. I never could do it comfortably. God just wouldn't, turn me loose. And so I'm not gonna say I'm smart enough, but I recognize not to wrestle with a God that's as big as ours, because my intelligence apart from Him is nothing.
That's very true.
And so I recognize I don't want to fight with God because I know I'm not going to win. And so it came in 2014. I preached my initial sermon.
What was that experience like for you?
What, man? Stepping into ministry was a big deal, especially going into ministry young. Going into ministry young, and just I had a lot of support. I come from a family of preachers. I guess that's worth noting as well. I have several uncles that are preachers and cousins that are preachers and pastors, and so it's in my family. I grew up seeing it, and so that's kind of
Kind of like, what is it, a Levite tribe that were preachers back in the
musicians.
day? That was a musician.
Musicians, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, man, you said something really important, and I think is kind of along with your faith, and we all share the same faith here, is purpose. I'm so thankful for waking up with purpose these days. And, for context, we are in the midst of September 12th, 2020, I believe. Yesterday, unfortunately, was the anniversary of 9/11. So, first and foremost, we want to thank all the brave firemen and police officers of New York that helped out in that tragedy. And we also want to honor those that unfortunately lost their lives. We are in support with you. But we're celebrating tragedy in the midst of a tragedy, or midst of tragedy, for Black and brown men and women of this country. And I don't want to just say it's this tragedy for for us per se, but it affects everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And like as we strive to on this show to build a more equitable world for everybody, it's important that we find a purpose on why we're doing things. So just hearing you have that sound purpose, and having a clear direction on, like you said, wrestle. Same with me. Like, man, I tried to be a football player, playboy to the days of my death, man. I'm gonna be 100, but when you wrestling with God, you never gonna win.
Never gonna win that battle.
You're right, man.
And it's actually, isn't the scripture when the guy wrestled with God, him actually losing was winning.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to realize the release, right?
Yeah.
I ain't gonna get too preachy, but I wanted to.
Go ahead.
Nah, I know you gonna be on there, bro. But nah, man, that's really important. And so, teaching language arts, as being in a teaching profession before, not necessarily being a teacher, but helping out kids in a different form.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about the money. There's not really too much money into it, but I just remember the feeling that I felt knowing that I could change a child's life. I'm sure you feel that, but can you describe, instances of that, or just describe how that's feeling? I feel like it's really important that people know that we have people like you on the side that's actually standing for equitable education
and passionate about it.
Yeah, for our black brothers and sisters, and just for everybody.
Yeah, teaching, man, it's a unique opportunity in general because it's one of the few professions where I get to see young people every day. I'm with these kids more than some of their parents are.
Right.
Very true.
And we spend the whole day together.
That's how important the role of a teacher is, and I feel like society undervalued.
Yeah. And like you said, we definitely don't get in it for the money. And that's not an unknown fact. I mean, I believe teaching is definitely a calling for many people. And you got to have a heart for young people, and not just some young people. It has to be all young people because at the end of the day, we don't control the kids that come in our classroom.
Yep.
I don't get to handpick. I want this student, that student, that student. I don't get to do that. And so having a heart for young people in general and loving on them from all their backgrounds and all their situations and all their circumstances, that's what makes it fulfilling. And like I said, this is my 4th year teaching, but my 5th year in education. And so my first group of students that I taught at Northern, they're seniors this year. And so I get to see them. I'm starting to see them pop up at fast food places working there. So that freaks me out a little bit.
You got any friend requests from your...
Oh, man, I get the friend requests all the time.
I used to get friend requests from my students. Like, can't do it, buddy.
Right. But I'm starting to see them working and stuff, man. So I pull up at the drive-thru and they see me, they light up, and then some of the other kids know me, they run out the back. I'm like, y'all supposed to be working. You know what I'm saying? But just, man, seeing that.
Keep it real, though. They give you extra fries and nuggets.
They do not, man. They do not.
That's right. We gonna call them out, okay?
They do not, man.
Next time Austin comes through the drive-thru, hook them up.
That's right. Yeah, drop that 6 nugget and that 5-piece for my boy.
Help a brother out, man.
Yeah, a little extra honey mustard. Yeah, man.
Yeah, but they, it's rewarding to see them, growing. And the thing about Roxborough is Roxborough's small enough that being a teacher that lives in the county, you're going to see your students everywhere you go.
Oh, yeah.
At Walmart. And,
we only got a few spots out there.
Right. And so you low-key start feeling like a little celebrity. Like, man, that's Mr. Harris right there. And so I get to meet the parents and stuff. But I love that. I think that is actually an advantage, being from Roxborough and teaching where I grew up and, coming through the education system that I came through. I think that's a unique advantage for me. So I love it, man.
Yeah, man. Well, I like to throw it back to think about, let's take Austin back to middle school Austin, right?
Yeah.
What was education like for you? Like, I remember when I was in middle school and times back, even grade school before that, is that the time that I realized that I was a black kid in education. And, that's a powerful moment because you realize that, dang, what's in front of you is supposed to be for everybody, but it's different for you.
Yeah.
There's small caveats that's different for you and not in a positive way. And not only do you experience it from some teachers, you experience it from a system that supports those teachers. So, I mean, if you can remember back when you were in school, for instance, what did they tell you about slavery?
Right.
Yeah.
You get what's in the textbook, I mean, and everything is, I don't even remember going into detail about slavery.
Right.
It was I've heard stories worse where they really whitewashed it and things like that. But we really just got it on the surface level in Person County. It didn't lead to any deep discussion, or it wasn't kept raw. I didn't get good history until I got to an HBCU in North Carolina Central. But like I said, you got what the textbooks gave you, and I had some teachers that they kept it real. I didn't have all bad teachers.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you get what they gave you, and so growing up and then reaching adulthood and realizing that there was more that should have been covered. And even now, that's actually one of my classes I'm taking in grad school is social studies. It's a social studies methods class, but there's so much controversy as to what should be taught and from what perspective it should be taught. And so at the end of the day, I don't think that, I remember reading in my chapter last week, history comes from the eye of the beholder.
That's very true.
We all view history from our perspectives. And so you're going to get what the perspective of your teacher is. And as teachers, we have to maintain neutrality, make sure that we are presenting information, but allowing students to formulate their own opinions about it. And so teaching students how to think like historians and think critically, I think that's important. But at the end of the day, it boils down to the resources, and it boils down to, the materials that we put in front of our students as to what they're going to take out of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And, going back on what, Marshall, what you were asking as far as like, because Austin, me and him, we went to the same schools from middle school up. Yeah. I think it is different when you're growing up in a small town like Roxborough, when you were saying like going back to that feeling you get to when you realize that being Black is different. Yeah. Outside of sometimes your own community, like going to school. And we have some great teachers, in Roxborough. Like I remember Miss Garrett. Oh yeah. Still love her to this day. Yeah.
Shout out Miss Garrett.
But it is that feeling. I think is when your parents are at home and they're telling you, hey, because we've all had to talk, you can't do what you see everybody else do when you're out in public. I think it doesn't hit us. We're like, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
And then when you go to school, you kind of see, okay, this is real. Like sometimes I can't show my emotions like other people do. It's seen different. Yeah. And, I remember like me growing up in school, especially like the middle school and high school area, I was always seen as like a negative light to some of my teachers. You get that a lot where teachers will tell a kid like, you're not going to be too much, or you're going to be stationed to just this area in life. And what do you feel like your role is? Like you were saying, you see these, I think a lot of teachers forget how often they see these kids. Like you see these kids a lot. You're a big you're a big influence on these kids. What do you kind of fall in line with that when you're interacting with your students? Like just making sure everybody feels uplifted, regardless of skin color, gender, sexual orientation, or anything of that line.
It definitely comes from a place of intentionality,
Exactly.
In education, they preach building relationships. And even before this school year, I know at my particular school, at the middle schools in Person County, we had a diversity training about building relationships with our Black and brown students in the wake of the events taking place in society. Yep. And so, we're thinking about, some of these tragic events and the police brutality and what that looks like. And on top of that, being an educator and seeing these kids for as long as we do, and them been out of school since March, coming back in the COVID style classroom, as I call it. There's a lot that took place, in that time off.
Very much
so. Our jobs now this year is even harder, and we have to be definitely intentional about it because we have students who are, Person County is very diverse, and you're going to see a wide range of people in Person County with different beliefs and different perspectives, and these people have children, and so these are the people that I'm teaching, their children, and so their children have some of these same beliefs that they're developing because they hear it at home. My job is to love them regardless, and that's what I strive to do. I've had students with Trump stickers, and,
I was just about to ask about that.
Confederate stuff, and I don't treat that student any different. I don't try to engage in conversation. Trying to bash them for their beliefs, because I think that's what's wrong with society now.
Exactly.
We don't know how to accept differences with each other, and so particularly middle school, man, that's the training ground.
Yep.
To dig into these conversations, And when things come up, because in middle school, some of these kids, they speak their mind, you know, and so as things come up politically, and you know, people repeat stuff that they heard at home. My job is to teach the kids how to be understanding and empathetic, you know, and so that's what I strive to do, regardless of what color they are.
Yeah.
Now I got into education knowing there was a need with my black students.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I don't take that for granted, but I'm not the teacher that's going to give all my attention to one.
100%. 100%.
Well, I think that's an example that you set with just showing equity and equality amongst everyone. And Deron, kind of to piggyback off what you were saying and what you were detailing too, Austin, is that I remember back in school, like our parents would tell us like we're different. And our teachers wouldn't necessarily say that, but I think really hits home, and I think it's still true today, is when a peer, you get treated like that from a peer.
From
right?
other students, yeah.
Because, you know, we look at you young leaders as parents like, oh, you're supposed to tell me everything I'm supposed to do. Like, you know, but you don't really know my life. We're just not wise at that point, or wise enough to know. But it's when you say that there's kids with Trump stickers and things like that, while they may bring those beliefs in, I believe where it's come detrimental to people who are in the classroom is when something that they may think is told to another student. And as a teacher, that's hard to manage, right? Because you can only manage everything that's happening as far as, you know, a whole, like, hey, we got to move forward. But those little times where they may be off in a group and somebody may, you know, say, well, all lives matter to somebody that, you know, maybe thinking Black Lives Matter. It's just crazy the societal aspects that are in a classroom today's day. And then you got to teach it over COVID.
Yeah. I know you said you said some political issues sometimes get brought up in classrooms. How do you handle that as far as how deep do you, if those conversations do come up in your classroom, how deep do you get into them? And where do you kind of draw the line? Like, are you allowing the kids themselves to voice their opinions, or are you kind of controlling the conversation? How does that conversation kind of go in your classroom?
Right. In my classroom, it always depends on the context. And it depends on the level of emotion that it was said with, because sometimes things can't be addressed in the moment. And so you have to sometimes you just have to handle the behavior as opposed to what was said. And, you know, first of all, we don't do that. We don't, you know, yell out of turn or you're not just going to be shouting out in my class. That's not how we're going to get down. And if you want to, you know, state your opinion and it's related to what we're talking about, by all means, let's have some conversation. Because if it's related to the content that I'm teaching, most likely I can give some type of, you know, background information to tie it into the lesson. But I try not to just have like random conversation taking place, because it can get real muddy. And, you know, as an African-American male teacher in a rural county, I have to be extremely careful about what I say. You know, because all it takes is one kid to go back home and say, you know, Mr. Harris said all lives don't matter. You know?
Oh yeah, you in trouble now. You in trouble now.
So
has that ever happened?
It has not. It has not, and I think COVID saved me this year because I don't have all the kids in the school building. A lot of kids are virtual. And so my class sizes are extremely small, and on top of that, they're mixed up because we're on a hybrid model in Person County. So I have a set of kids that come track A Monday, Tuesday. And then I have another set that comes Thursday, Friday. So a lot of them are not with their friends. We don't have the cafeteria. We're eating in the classroom with the mask and stuff. They can't talk during lunch. And so that kind of, I say that saved me in the aspect of a lot of the stuff that could have happened this year can't happen. As far as discussions and things like that.
Makes sense.
You know, one of the things that I'm dying to have a conversation about is the systematic inequities in education for Black and brown children. When I say systematic inequities, I mean the distribution of funds to help these schools. You know, we go into a lot of these rural counties, or we go into a lot of these schools where the majority of the population may be Black or brown. But my question is, why do the schools have to be less? What is it about those areas that the school has to be less? And subsequently, it doesn't attract teachers. It just trickles all down where the value, I think the most important thing for any child to get is an education.
Right.
You know, it was the only thing that they really, really wanted to hold back from us was reading a book.
Yeah.
So that should let you know how important it is, right?
Yeah.
What's your feeling on ways that we can go forward with changing education so that the people that are produced are like yourself, that can be an example and subsequently want to go out and teach more people? Like how do we change that?
We have to acknowledge the facts, because you have people that don't believe
that's
that
a tall
these.
task.
Yeah, but you have people that don't believe these things exist.
That's
these
true.
inequities exist. You know, they think everybody's coming to the same building.
Yep.
We're equal.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the case. And we talk about I'm not an administrator, but I know when you talk about funding a little bit, it's based on the value of your district.
Oh, got you.
And so when you talk about the neighborhoods and the percentage of poverty and things like that, that's how money's allocated in these schools. So richer areas get more money, poor areas don't.
Yeah.
And so when you talk
How
about
does that even make sense though?
right, yeah,
Like you have less money, so we give you
Less money, yeah.
yeah. And it's based on population and just the number of
Yeah.
students and things like that. And so me being in a smaller district, we're not going to get as much money as a larger district would. But even with that, like these inequities have existed for so long, even pre-integration,
Yep.
Black kids getting, hand-me-downs, leftover materials from the white schools and things like that. And
That's right.
These things have trickled down and become ingrained in the education system. And so the change begins with acknowledging, that there is a need for change and, trying to get people to come into education to kind of break down some of these barriers. It's a tough task because, as we stated, the money's not there.
It's not, yeah. You got to have a true passion.
You definitely have to be passionate about this work. And so trying to sell that to people, I will say we are in a generation where social change is on the hearts of the people.
That's very true.
Yes.
And so I've seen a lot of people who didn't major in it. I know a lot of teachers that didn't major in education, but they ended up in education. A couple of them, they just needed a job out of college, and it's an easy gig to get as a teacher. All you gotta do is have a degree. They get in and they realize, man, this is actually much better than what I wanted to do in the first place. And so I think, we're in a good place with people waking up and stepping into education. But as far as attracting more people to do this work and kind of break down some of these barriers and bring attention to these matters, there's some things that got to take place systematically for that to happen, I think.
I mean, I 100% agree. I think, when people keep asking, okay, well, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? I think a lot of times people want to look at what can each individual person do. And, they kind of forget the whole construct of the system, right? Yeah. And when we try to tell people, okay, hey, the rectify the issue for us in our community is fix the system. We know there's going to be people that, are never going to come around to accepting us. That's just the unfortunate fact of life. But why does the system have to be that? You know what I mean? Like, we can change the system and a lot of things will trickle down. And the system is actually the thing that's supposed to protect us all, right?
Supposed to.
It's supposed to.
Yeah.
But like you said, man, it comes with first acknowledging.
Yep.
And, in this day and age that we live in, we have people lying on camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
And won't even acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And then you try to, me trying to be a logical person, right? I sit back and I say, what the hell did I just see? Okay? And what the hell did you just say that I just said? And you're literally telling me that you didn't say that or you didn't do that.
Right.
But the crazier part that is the bigger picture, and when it trickles down into kids and going to the education system, it's a belief, right? And they think, okay, well, these people aren't even owed the truth because we're in power and we don't have to necessarily give them the truth. And therefore, what am I teaching my younger kids when it comes to when you're encountered with the truth?
Yep. I think that's a big part because I think with a kid through school, that's where you get a lot of your influence from. That's where you get a lot of your growth from.
Right.
Because you're there 8 hours every day for 5 days. And I feel like I was saying earlier, I feel like teachers need to really grasp that. Like, it's good that we have somebody like Austin in the school systems, like a stand-up guy, a black man that is positive for a lot of these black and brown kids to see. And because I feel like we don't really get to see that a lot. When you look at what a kid sees when we're at home or if we're watching any kind of media, we see athletes, we see criminals. Yeah. They don't show us a black teacher. They're not going to show us a black lawyer. They're not going to show us a black doctor. And there's plenty of them out there for us to see and lean on. But I feel like we're just so hindered on that side that we don't get to see it a lot. So going through the school system and you're looked at in a negative light a lot from classmates. And then if you get it from your teacher as well, where are you going to see that value from? Right. You know, as a kid going through school. So I think it's important that we have somebody like an Austin who's passionate about the kids. And the thing that I think is important that you said is not letting a black kid feel that he's black. Every kid who comes in your classroom, like you said, you're all important. You're all equal. Do you think that side of you is natural, or do you think kind of the ministry kind of helps out bringing that to the classroom? You being a minister.
I think they merge. It's natural in the sense that, you know, that's my belief in Christ and my pursuit of a biblical lifestyle, you know, that's taken on who I am and who I strive to be. And so when Jesus said we got to love everybody, you know, that's what I try my best to do. Yep. And that looks different for different people. You know, like it's harder for some folk than it is for others. You know? But at the end of the day, I gotta love you regardless. I can't turn my back to you. I can't shun you.
Jews and Gentiles. Yeah. All of us.
Yeah. So I can't, you know, change my outlook on you because I don't like what you do or what you believe in, even if you are a middle school student. And so some of my best relationships with students, I mean, I can reach all types of students. I can reach all types of students. And I'm pretty sure a lot of that comes from just being called into education. Yeah. But a lot of times you see teachers be successful with one particular demographic, and that's their sweet spot. You know, the demographic that most closely mirrors where they come from. Me growing up, I hung out with all kinds of people. You know, and so I never did settle into a particular social group growing up. And I think because of that, I'm able to reach all of my students. I'm able to build relationships with all of my students. So
that's good. Yeah. Do you, we speak a lot from, because me, I don't get to see it. I've never been a teacher. So I can only speak from the student side. Do you think any of those inequalities, any of those drawbacks come on the teacher side as well? Do you experience any of that?
Not so much. When it comes to the teachers, it's pretty much a level playing field in a sense. Because we all, like, the curriculum is given to us. You know, the laptops are provided for us. And there's more. They've kind of been things a little more. For example, with the COVID classroom, if a teacher didn't have, you know, access to good internet connection, there were accommodations made and things like that. You transfer that to the student, and that's not always possible. You know, if a student doesn't have access to a good internet connection, there's not always opportunities afforded to them to get their work done. It's always, well, you can do this or you can do that. But as far as being a teacher, sometimes it's a little more level.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I haven't experienced that. Might not be the case for everybody, but I can speak on myself. I haven't experienced a lot of, you know.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. And what is it like teaching? Because you've been teaching for a while. What has this year been like? Like teaching through COVID. Man, what has that been like?
It is a challenge, and you know, my teaching style is I like group work, I like collaboration, I like, you know, just, you know, get my students up and out and moving and things like that. And that's not really possible this year because we are so confined to, and I get safety. You know, I'm all about the safety of my students and the teachers and the staff. So I get it. But I'm having to, I'm honestly feel like I'm boring my students to death this year. I do, because.
How many are in a classroom at a time?
My largest class, it depends on the size of the room.
Gotcha.
So I have a pretty large classroom. And so my largest class is about 16.
Okay.
16, yeah.
So you said some was like in person and virtual.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So what it is like, so for example, if it's Monday, Tuesday, those are my track A kids, and the kids that come on Thursday, Friday, they log in from home and join my class on Google Meets.
Gotcha.
And so that's kind of how it works. And then it flips on Thursday, Friday. Those kids log in, and so. Yeah, that's kind of what COVID has presented. It's presented some challenges, trying to be creative and still engage my students.
Right.
But then you're trying to engage some from home. And on top of that, when they're at home, you don't really have that full attention.
Yeah.
You know, just
distractions everywhere.
Yeah, I've seen some videos and some stuff happen.
I was just about to say, like,
I haven't had no experiences like that, but I've seen some stuff.
There's been some craziness going on in the back.
Yeah.
I heard there was I think it was a post floating around about how the school had to send home notes with kids asking the dads to just wear like slacks in the back, because dads were wearing like the boxers and having the top when they were going to meetings, and they were in the back walking in their shorts and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
we in their house, so
yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's the mindset. This is my house.
And with COVID, one of the things that actually, it was good that I actually heard another opinion from one of the members of Maverick on this, was that at first I was like, well, I still am 100% with the health of kids. Like, man, they shouldn't be in school, like this and that, blah, blah, blah. But that was a physical health standpoint. And at Maverick Innovation, we like to focus a lot on the mental aspects of motivation and stuff. And then my counterpart told me, well, a lot of the parents are really afraid because kids aren't getting the societal aspect or the environment that they should be in to learn how to function as members of society, like with each other. They're not getting that interaction. And what does that mean to the detriment of their health? I mean, I look at some kids now really don't know how to carry on in social context or social situations because they may be tied to a video game all day where everything's virtual. Be honest, man, I feel like that is what changed my mind, or changed a little bit, to say, okay, hey, I understand both sides of this equation, but that's just another added element like teachers have to deal with. You know, you got one teacher in a curriculum, and then you got to make sure that they're actually, the good teachers are trying to make sure they actually become good men and women of society, right? I look at teachers and coaches are pretty much hand in hand.
Yeah.
Same thing. You're just teaching a different subject matter.
That's right.
So yeah, man, it's tough with all that. Now, with all the things that are going on in society, do any of the kids ever bring that into the classroom, like the shootings or anything?
Like I said, I think the element of safety and the precautions we've taken is kind of split up some of that social stuff that you would get in school. Because when I say, like I said, I feel like I'm boring my students. Like, it's so quiet in the building. You know, so when those fruitful discussions would have taken place in a normal school year, we're not getting that.
Gotcha.
We're not getting that.
Like schools didn't want to like chatter in the classroom until there's silence.
Right, man, that's deep. Yeah.
You know, like,
that's real.
Everything right now is just so.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's different.
Yeah.
And you know, I look at it as, wow, I'm 30-some years old. I got more life to live and make a change. It's really the middle school. Those people will be ushering in the new world. And it's so weird to me because as long as I've been a man or a black man in this country, I've never thought that I would see the day in which we truly do live equitably in an equitable world, right? And you see all the protests happening, you see everything happening, and my biggest question is like, when all that stops, what does the world look like?
Right.
You know, and it's just different. Being in the, like, I don't want to say it's uncomfortable because I'm actually comforted by the fact that there would be something different because I will not settle for the same.
Right.
But it's also kind of scary because, man, it's 400 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you thinking like, wow, like 400 years, like what my ancestors taught me about, and they explain the things they're going through. Education, right? Going to different schools, now being found in schools, and then now being combined in schools and actually being segregated again, but under a different reason, right?
Yeah.
There's just so much change in the world that happens, and it's crazy how you got to keep up with that as I don't want to say teacher, I want to say leader of young men and women, because that's truly what I feel like a teacher is.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like people try to escape away and say, oh, I just teach. And I've been in classrooms where people got just a little lesson plan, and that's all they do. They put the lesson plan down, and then they sit back. You know,
that's real.
That's not involved, right? So, is that a teacher?
That's true.
All right, that's a good way to look at it. I mean,
like I said, I'm not trying to call out anybody, but if I'm gonna die on the side, I'm gonna die on the side of wanting to help the children.
Right.
You know, one of the things that with my line of work with being a BSA, I'm not sure if people understand what that is. Behavior support is I dealt with the kids that had the highest level of issues. But it was amazing the difference that I can make just by what you said. One word, empathy.
That's it.
If I just went into a classroom and made that child feel like, you know what, I'm actually do care about you. It became easier just to hold them accountable. Yeah. Because it's like, you know, if you do something bad and I get on you, I'm not getting on you because I'm picking on you. I'm getting on you because I care. Yeah. And I'm holding you accountable. And it's that small change that you can actually say some of the same things to kids, but it be land differently if they know the source of where it's coming from. Yeah. And I think that people just don't want to tap into that. So to hear your passion from that is so important. Because I know you look at kids as actual human beings that are going to be adults.
Yeah. And that's the key, man. Like, you have to have a relationship with these students in order for what you say to be received. And I think that's what sets apart a good teacher from a great teacher. Right. Because you have teachers who approach it from this aspect of, this is my classroom, these are my rules, and this how we gonna get down.
Yeah, I remember a few of those. Yeah,
I had a lot of them teachers.
Yeah, and so the separation becomes when I view my students as people who are a part of my classroom, not just people that I have to control and maintain order and behavior. Right? And so the key to building relationships with these students is making them feel a part and being empathetic, you know, of their situation. Taking time to shut up and listen. Yeah. You know, like, stop, you know, coming down on them before you got the whole story. Yeah. You know, stop coming down on them because of what the situation looks like. And take some time to just let them kids talk to you. And then, you know, if it is a matter that needs some correction, correct them. But all of your correction comes from a place of love. Yeah. That's biblical. Yeah. You know.
Do you see what is it like a classroom, like from the first day of the school year to when you go through the school year and you get to that last day? What is that growth process like? Like you were saying, when you got to realize, like, these are adults. Like, where do you start by gaining that respect from your kids to have that type of environment, and where does it kind of lead as the school year go out?
Man, I come in. I like to say I have a bipolar teaching personality. Because my kids just never know what they're gonna get. So like first couple of days, man, and you had those teachers that say, you know, don't smile until after Christmas break. And my first year, I thought I was gonna do that.
Don't smile after Christmas.
I thought I was gonna do that, but I realized this is not it at all.
This
is so uncomfortable. I'm not being myself. You know, so I come in with enough serious demeanor to let them know. And I told my kids that this year I take education seriously, and so everything that I implement within my classroom, it's not from a place of I'm doing this because, you know, I'm trying to get on your nerves, but I'm doing this to make you a better person.
Right.
And so being able to effectively connect my classroom structure, but also getting them to realize why this is necessary and why it's necessary for your growth. I think my students really have grown to appreciate that.
Gotcha.
And so, you know, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, by the end of the year, you know, I'm a little loose. We laughing, we having a good time. Even with this year, because with COVID, you know, making the class sizes so much smaller, I'm having to kind of loosen up a little earlier because on top of wearing a mask all day, on top of being spaced out, our desks are like 7 to 8 feet apart.
Gotcha.
So we went a little above the recommendation. On top of all of that stuff, like to come in and have a teacher that's just,
stern, yeah.
That's not the year for that.
Yeah, that'll kill it. Yeah, that'll kill the whole environment.
We already got all kinds of stuff going on.
And these kids ain't the same kids. Like, back in the day, a teacher told me something, was like, all right, cool, because I knew my mom would whip my butt if I went home, right? And these days, it's like, everybody's more outspoken, which is a good thing. But at the same time, I feel like being outspoken does come with accountability. And that's where it falls off, is that, we have these kids and sometimes parents being outspoken in their kids' favor, but don't want to have accountability that comes when their kids don't do what's required,
You're right about that.
Yeah.
What's that relationship like with parents?
Right.
As far with in your experience of teaching?
I think my personality has really helped me in that aspect.
Gotcha.
I'm a hard person to get confrontational with because how I am right now, this is me.
Yeah, this is Austin.
Like that's nothing but the spirit, dog. I feel like that's nothing but the spirit, real talk.
Yeah, I don't get, hype. I don't, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. I know I had a student. I took a cell phone, and this is the thing, man. I had gave her
cell phone.
Yeah, that's their life.
Yeah, I gave her a couple chances too, and that's what
a girl cell phone.
Oh yeah, it was a girl, and you have some teachers, they gonna take it right off bat. All right, I was a little different. The week before she had it out, I took it for the class period.
Yeah.
All right, and I gave it back to her at the end of the day, and I'm saying that on camera. I wasn't supposed to do that, according to school policy. But again, good teacher from great teacher. I'm trying to build relationships.
It's levels,
here, and so understanding how to navigate the systems. She did it again that next week, and I gave you a chance the previous week.
Right.
Now I gotta follow through.
Yeah.
So I took it, turned it into the office. Her mom waited out after school for me. And I had no idea she was there, man. And so I get up, I walk out, I'm going to the car, and the mom was probably about my height.
Yeah.
She gets out the car. Are you Mr. Harris? My heart drops.
It's about to point. No, that's it.
I'm like, what is about to happen?
Right.
And did you take my daughter's phone? I said, yes, ma'am. But here's the thing. I gave your daughter a chance last week. I said I was supposed to turn her phone in last week. I said, but I didn't. I gave her another chance. I said, now, according to the school procedures and policies, I wasn't supposed to do that. And so hearing that, I gave her daughter a chance, and her daughter dropped the ball, that changed her whole demeanor. She immediately calmed down. Yeah, I've been on her about that phone, And so, well, thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
She came
Nice save.
Yeah.
Nice save there.
You know what's crazy about that is that situation is that she acknowledged that her daughter is already having issues with the phone, but came in assuming that you were the wrong one, right? Like, that's the difference. Like, back in the day, I did some stuff. So,
My mama won't hear nothing.
If my teacher would have told them, like, hey, look, man, Marshall outside breaking glass. My mom would have been like, you know what? He outside
breaking glass.
You know what I mean?
That's
like, that's what it is. But if she said, yo, Marshall outside, like, being mean to another kid because of his skin color or something like that, my mama would start inquiring, asking questions like, come on now, that don't sound like whatever, this and that. But that's the issue that I'm saying, is that even in the midst of knowing where people's areas of opportunity, because I don't like to call anybody's areas of weakness, areas of opportunity, people just don't actually hold the right party accountable.
Yeah.
And I think that's a microcosm of what goes on today in society, is that everyone wants to talk about the symptoms, but no one wants to talk about the root cause.
Yep.
And because the root cause is too tough of a conversation, because once you start talking about the root cause, you start revealing, myself included, hey, I may be a little bit a part of this problem.
Yep.
And that's
100%.
hard to shed. But the thing about it, I feel like it's like evolution, it's growth, right? Like, you got to shed your skin in order to grow a new one, right? Like the skin. This is not the same skin layer of skin that I even had yesterday.
Yep. Very true.
You know what I'm
Very
saying?
true.
Like, that's just revealing to me in that little small story that you did. And not saying any fault of the parent, because I applaud her for actually coming back and doing that.
Yep.
But it's just the unconscious part of it right now is that our kids can never be wrong.
Yeah. That's
You know
very
what?
true.
And I grew up where, hey,
I was wrong regardless
wrong.
what I did. Yeah, 100%.
yeah, I was, doing a lot of stuff.
I've seen it, man. I've seen these parents come in, and shout out to these administrators out here. They catch it first. I mean, I'm in my classroom, so the parent goes straight to the office.
Responders.
Oh yeah,
the parent goes straight to the office. But I've seen parents come in and straight up cuss these administrators out about their children.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, how does that empower a kid, right? In the wrong way.
Yep, exactly.
Because
kids start feeling like
happens?
they can't get in trouble.
Yeah, they come to school the next day and they brag about the fact
my
that
mom
cussed out the principal yesterday, and the kids be like, well, that's what they get. You know what I'm saying? So now you got these kids about to revolt and you lose control. You know what I'm saying? So
I think it goes back to the same thing you kept saying, the system. It's not necessarily a fight against a particular person. It's a fight against that person representing the system. So many people black community have been jaded by so many systems. Education being one of them, that it's an automatic assumption that the system is doing wrong.
Yeah, to my kid. Yeah, it's not my kid. It has to be the teacher.
Well, we got a great young leader right here in the classroom. Is the antithesis of that.
Yep.
But he falls under that umbrella only because of what the system
has pushed down. Yeah.
Permeated for years.
Yeah.
That's when we talk about these systems are broken. These systems are broken. Like, education by far is the number one skill or number one thing that anyone can get.
Yep.
Right? It determines our economic growth, our advancement society, our advancements in STEM programs, math, all these things, right?
Yeah.
But yet we don't invest in it.
Yep. That's very true. Going off of that, Austin, let me ask you, what do you feel like your biggest role or your biggest impact is as a teacher? Like, what do you want to be defined as a teacher?
At the end of the day, I want something that's gonna leave a mark.
Legacy.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you don't forget your good teachers.
Yep.
You always remember them. You remember their class.
Shout out Miss Fine.
Mama G, Miss Garrett.
Yeah.
Coach Hagney.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you remember your good teachers. And so I'm not after popularity with my kids. Like, if they like me, cool. If they don't, cool. I don't have to be your favorite teacher. That's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, I want you to take away something from my class that you're not going to forget over the summer.
Gotcha. Yep.
So when I see you again, I would love to hear, because that's what happened to me. I had teachers that, like you all said, I remember specifically, coming through a program called Men of Distinction in middle school. And Mr. Poole.
Yep.
Mr. Poole is a county-wide name. And
tough name,
y'all
too.
Y'all really do live in a small town.
He's a county-wide name. And
Mr. Poole was tough.
That's what's up.
His work with Men of Distinction, just having that impact on me and other people. It was guys that were in MOD before I was. It's a lifelong impact. And that's what I want. I want to make a lifelong impact, even if my name isn't as great as Mr. Poole's, because I know he's going to watch this.
Yeah.
Even if my name isn't that great as his, I want to make an impact on my students to the point where they be like, man, Mr. Harris was pretty cool teacher. So
that's dope.
Well, Austin, Mr. Harris, we need more like you.
100%.
We want more like you. I think that's what we need to push for. So, this show is also about empowering more people to take those paths of leadership like yourself. So, let's just speak to black men right now on the show and brother that can be a part of the solution, right? We talked to JR, which is a member of law enforcement. It was a great conversation. And some of his motivation was making the change from within, right? So we know, unfortunately, law enforcement and education and the judicial system is clearly linked in some ways.
Yeah.
So he's fighting on the inside from there. We got to show an example of that. We're showing an example of you doing that from the inside. But what is it that you could tell maybe some black young men that may be thinking about teaching, why they should go into teaching?
I think it boils down to representation. If you look at the makeup of a lot of our schools, let's even dig deep into, suspension rates,
right,
and the inequities there. There's a notably significant difference in the rates of suspension for African-American students, male and female. And so when we look at the makeup of, I can speak to, Person County, when we make up of the makeup of the diversity of the teachers, doesn't always reflect the classroom.
It never does, really.
Yeah, and so being a black male teacher, my impact with my black students is far more greater, I think. And because of that, we need more. We need more guys to come in. I would agree with that. And I think a big part of my success has been because, like we said, there are already preconceived notions of this system of education from parents. So when they walk in, I see it all the time at like open house and conferences. When they see me, they're smiling. You can feel the sense of proud.
That's a beautiful feeling. Like when you see somebody like yourself,
exactly, coming in, like just seeing not only that, I'm not a coach. I'm a classroom teacher. Shout out to the coaches, but seeing a black male teach English in a middle school setting is rare.
And I think being from Roxborough, like makes them feel safe as well because they know Roxborough.
You know the community.
Yeah, right. You're actually a part of the community. It gives them a safe space to be like, okay, I know one classroom that my kid is going to be safe in is Mr. Harris' class.
Right, and that's a real feeling.
Yeah.
I have parents, man, even it's the students that I don't even think I'm impacting that, really something stuck with them.
Yeah.
I had some kids write me some letters, and, they weren't even black kids. These were white kids about my classroom, and I had no idea I had impacted them in that manner. And so I had one student, he was a white male, and he said, "You were one of the greatest teachers I had, and you were, a great black teacher." All right, and I ain't take that the wrong way because I get where he's coming from. Yeah. Like even for him being a white student, having a black teacher, he really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think that story I think is impactful because I think as a white kid who gets to see that, because a lot of times the same way we see ourselves as in a negative aspect, a lot of the white community see the same thing. So them seeing a guy like you, like I think that opens their mind.
Right. And at the end of the day, there's a need for more of us. I've had teachers tell me, man, please don't go into administration. We need you in the classroom. And a lot of people see that call on me too. Administration. I ain't saying that I'm going that route or not. I'll let God decide that. But they want me to stay in the classroom because they know my impact with students,
Gotcha.
Particularly my black male students. And so I, similar to the program that I came through with Men of Distinction, I'm the advisor of a program called Men of Valor. With my friend Antoine Hargrove. He created that program. And so I brought a chapter to Northern Middle School. And so my goal is to take some of these guys underneath my wing and mentor them and expose them to the possibilities outside of Roxborough. But I can't do it alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when we talk about...
He can't do it alone.
So getting these people to come in, like we really need more males, and particularly black males, Hispanic males, to come in and represent for our young boys, man.
Yeah,
and on the female end, the same thing. We need some more of our black women to come in and just be role models for our young kids.
That's dope. And of course, anything we can do to help out with that,
facts.
We would definitely be there for. Before we kind of wrap things up, I first want to thank you for coming on. This has been impactful. I know I saw on social media, you have T-shirts.
Yeah, we got some tees. We can just talk about the gear.
So where
no shameless plug. Let's plug.
So where did that come about, and kind of what's the direction what's the mission behind that?
Yeah. So
first of all, where can I get one? Because I want to support.
Oh yeah. So my website teachertees.com.
Teachertees.com. We got graphics now.
Wait, teachertees.company. Got site, yeah. So
we got graphics, so
it'll be in the description. It will be in the description.
Yeah, I need to work on that domain and get that shorter. But this actually was birthed out of this quarantine experience, man.
Awesome.
A lot of black-owned businesses popping out of this.
Exactly.
I'm excited about this move. And so when you have time to sit around and think, one of my goals is not only to impact students, but to impact teachers. And that's one of the things why I'm working on this second degree, because I want to get in a position where I can work with young teachers.
Yeah.
Because I know my experience as a young teacher was a lot different than what normal first-year teachers go through. I came in, I was in my natural element. I didn't have a lot of the challenges that people, you would have thought I had done this before, but I am aware that's not the case for everybody. And so I've taken on the name The Teacher Preacher, and I'm working on building that brand. But out of The Teacher Preacher, my mission is to inspire teachers and to uplift them and encourage them and retain them in the profession. Because in the times that we're teaching in, it's very easy to throw in a towel. There are teachers that are quitting their jobs amongst COVID.
Houston came to Durham and took a lot of our teachers because of the pay.
What?
They came over here, snatched up teachers.
Yes, I've actually visited Houston a few times. I know some teachers down there, and that starting pay. I mean, you
starting pay is crazy. I used to live in Houston.
Yeah, you can't beat it. And so, Teacher Tees is just another outlet for me to continue to inspire teachers by just inspiring them through a T-shirt, because people now they read shirts, and your message on your shirt it's reaching people, and so that's what I strive to do. And so my target audience is teachers. A lot of people ask me, do you do custom shirts and stuff like that? I'm really sticking to my niche and my mission. And so while I could be out here, creating customized T-shirts for everybody and anybody, I want to stay true to my mission, that is to empower teachers. So,
well, man, we appreciate you being a brother and empowering our community and empowering everyone. Like we said, we created this platform for a more equitable world for everyone. But in order to do that, there's some uplifting that needs to happen
within our community.
Has happened for a long time. So thank you for coming on the show, sharing your great experience, your great teachings. Men of Valor as well.
Men of Valor, yeah.
Men of Valor. Want to also plug that, but once again, we'll have all those in the show comments and the descriptions. But Austin, you from teacher preacher from Roxborough. We can't say the pride no more, so we gotta Deron infiltrating the show with all Roxborough guests. But I love it because I only went to Roxborough to play football. You won't catch me there besides that. But Austin, once again, man, we thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on the show, and more importantly, we thank you for what you're doing for the young leaders of the world.
Yeah, so appreciate y'all.
Thank y'all for tuning in.
Thank everybody. Yep.